All right, let's see. Okay, so I am live on Facebook and on YouTube. So I will wait for a few minutes before I get started. So, good evening. This is Ashley of Day to Day Social Work. Welcome to Sunday Social. I really just wanted to welcome all of the new members who have joined the Facebook page. So there have been hundreds of new members, and I just want to welcome everybody, which I'll do again in just a second here. I'm going to give a few seconds so that if anybody wants to join, they can um, join. So, again, welcome to Sunday Social. I don't have a lot planned, so I won't be on here long. I won't keep you long unless people get on and ask some questions. Um, so again, I don't see anybody on yet, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just get started so that if people decide to watch this video back, they won't be listening to me sitting and stalling for time while I'm waiting for people to get on. So anyway, again, I'm Ashley of Day to Day Social Work, and I just wanted to welcome all of the new members to the Facebook page and all of the new subscribers to the YouTube channel. So again, we've had hundreds of new people to join the Facebook page over the last, I don't know how long, few weeks, probably the last month. I would say we've had probably around 500 new people to join the Facebook page, and a lot of new subscribers as well. So I just wanted to welcome everybody who is new. So a lot of people don't really know about day-to-day social work. Um, and I don't know where the influx of people are coming from. Hi, Nessa, welcome. I don't know where the influx of people are coming from, but I'm so glad that y'all are here. Just if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, that is where all of the videos are for content to review. If you are studying for your exam, there are also some other videos there for people who just like social work in general. So learning about social work in general. But again, there are a lot of videos on the Day to Day Social Work YouTube channel. So when you join the Facebook page, the first question is, have you subscribed to the YouTube channel? So that is where a lot of the information and the content is. It's on the YouTube channel, which is why that's one of the first questions. So if you haven't already, then subscribe to the YouTube channel, Day to Day Social Work on YouTube, and there are over 100 videos there. Just again, content review, testimonials for tutoring, a lot of information on just social work in general, and then of course the Sunday socials. So Sunday social is just me getting on here and talking about the exam, answering questions that you might have about social work or about the exam or about um, day to day social work and just anything social work related. So, yes, day to day social work is primarily geared towards helping you pass the license exam, but it's also just about social work in general. And so, I made all of the videos on the YouTube channel, and then I kind of ran out of content to make videos, so I started doing the Sunday social. And normally I have a topic prepared, but since it's the summertime, I've been kind of, you know, laid back. I just finished my psychodiagnostics class. And so I haven't been like really in the mood to study and make sure that I have something prepared because it's summertime. But I definitely will pick back up with more planned content for Sunday socials as we enter the end of the summer and the beginning of the fall as things calm down. I know a lot of people are busy during the summer as well, and so they don't really have time to get on here and listen to me go on and on about social work. So I had the daily dialogues, which were the questions that I posted once a day, every day during the week, Monday through Friday, at 10:30. I did that for about a month just to see what the response would be. And we had some people who were regular responders, but then it kind of just drifted off. So I've decided not to do any more daily dialogues just because I need to think of something else that might make people more um, more interactive on the Facebook page. And then of course Myra is one of my best friends. So if you've seen the post where she just passed her LISWCP exam in the state of South Carolina, so she is now licensed to go into private practice. She has been helping me sometimes with the channel as far as posting questions. And so she's going to post a practice question every Tuesday, at least one. She may post more than one, it just depends. So that's something that we're going to start back doing. So it's really just trying different things to see how we can get people to be more interactive. And then of course, we have tutoring. So tutoring is what it is. It's one-on-one tutoring, where I tutor you for preparation for license exam. And it's really tailored to your needs. If you decide to do live one-on-one tutoring, it's tailored to your needs, and it's just very laid back and informal, traditional one-on-one tutoring, but it's done over Google Hangouts or Skype or some other form of video conferencing. And so had a lot of success with helping people to pass their license exam, mostly on the master's level, over the last 4 years. So if you haven't already looked at the Day-to-Day Social Work YouTube channel, then you might want to go on over to YouTube and subscribe and check out the testimonials that people have made after passing their exam and tutoring with Day-to-Day Social Work. And then also I have the pre-recorded tutoring series, which I'm always finding a reason to put on sale. Those pre-recorded videos have been very helpful excuse me, for a lot of people, because you get to go at your own pace. It's 45 days of access. It's 180 questions, 15 videos with over 11 hours. And so every Friday, new members are given a discount. And then if there's a holiday or just any other reason I can think of to give a discount to everybody, then I do. So it's very helpful and beneficial for people to pass their exam. And also it's light on your pockets because, even if it's not on sale, it's still a pretty good rate compared to a lot of other packages and things that are out there. But it's literally the same thing as live one-on-one tutoring, where I read everything, read all the questions, break everything down, pull out the relevant information, and tie everything back together for you, go through all of the answer choices, and I break down why the right answers are right and why the incorrect answers are incorrect. And so it's just really quality content and information. And so I can't stress enough how great of quality and how great of a deal it is. So if you've been kind of vacillating back and forth about whether or not to get any assistance with passing your license exam in the form of tutoring, I definitely recommend the pre-recorded tutoring series. And again, just always be looking out for specials that I have on that, especially on Friday if you are a new member to the Day-to-Day Social Work group. So let's see. I see we have someone on YouTube. Masa, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, says, thank you for taking your time to make this video. No problem, you're welcome. Again, I just encourage everybody to go to the Day-to-Day Social Work YouTube channel and check out everything that's there, especially the Sunday social videos that I've been doing since the beginning of the year, and then also just the content review videos that I've been doing since 2015 when I first started the channel and first started Day-to-Day Social Work. So again, I'm here to answer any questions. Oh, also this year I started doing the personal consulting, which is kind of like life coaching, but I don't like to call it life coaching because I just feel like that's not a good name for it. But it's kind of like life coaching, but I'd rather call it personal consulting or personal coaching because, to say that I'm life coaching, I don't know that I have lived enough life to tell somebody else how to live theirs. And I have, I've been through a lot of stuff, but I don't like the wording of that. But anyway, so that is another service that is offered through Day-to-Day Social Work is the personal coaching or personal consulting, where, we can talk about your life and your career and, your past growing up. So it's not therapy, and I always like to make that clear. The personal coaching and personal consulting is not therapy. It is therapeutic, but I can't formally call it therapy because I am only licensed on the master's level in South Carolina, but I'm working towards getting my independent license. And so after, I finish my hours, my supervision hours, and after I pass this exam, the LISW-CP exam in the state of South Carolina, which is the highest license you can get, then I plan to go into private practice, and then I could, it still would be considered personal coaching or personal consulting because of the state lines and jurisdiction and that kind of thing. So I will only be licensed in the state of South Carolina. So of course we want to stay ethical and make sure that we're sticking to all of the correct terminology and things like that. So let's see. Hi, Sasha. So Sasha's saying, hi, is there one-on-one tutoring? Can we go over our exam result if we failed? So yes, there is one-on-one tutoring. And I offer that pretty much every day of the week except Fridays. One-on-one tutoring is 1 hour and 15 minutes, and it is done via Skype or Google Hangouts or whatever other video conferencing that is available. And it is one-on-one. It's very informal, very laid back. It's tailored towards your individual needs. So if you failed your exam, and the thing is, I always encourage people to try to take their exam on their own the first time, without buying anything, without getting packages and tutoring and all that kind of stuff, because you can. I mean, I did, and a lot of people do. So if you can go without spending hundreds of dollars on packages and tutoring and all that kind of stuff, then I always encourage people to go and take a stab at it on your own without getting tutored. But if you happen to fail it and then you feel like you need some assistance with the exam, if you need tutoring, if you need explanation and to learn new strategies and that kind of thing, then I definitely say yes to go and get tutored. But the one-on-one tutoring is 1 hour and 15 minutes. It is one-on-one. The rate currently is $65, and you definitely will get your money's worth. I'll teach you new strategies. I don't recommend starting tutoring prior to your exam any sooner than 4 weeks prior, or any later than 6 weeks prior to your exam. So for me personally, if I'm going to tutor you, you only need to be tutored for 4 to 6 weeks prior to your exam date once a week. And sometimes you don't even need it that much. I just need to meet with you for the first time and go over some questions, see how your thought pattern is, see what your mindset is, see how you approach the questions, give you some feedback, and then let you know if I feel like, yes, you do need, consistent tutoring weekly for however many weeks. Not that you have to do that, but that's just, feedback. But then there are times where I meet with people for one session and I find out that, hey, okay, this seems to be the problem, and they only need like 1 or 2 sessions, and then they kind of get it. But then there are people who need 6 consecutive sessions once a week until they start, understanding how the test writer wants them to think. So that's that. Arnetta, hi. She says, I'm actually scared to take the exam. Why are you scared? I mean, of course, we know it's a big exam, and it's important, and we need it to boost our careers and to open doors for us. But it's just an exam. I always tell people this exam does not define you as a social worker. I've tutored people who have been social workers in the field for like 30 years, and then they go and fail the exam and they feel like their whole career was in vain. And we know that that's not true. This exam does not mean anything in the grand scheme of things as far as you being out in the field and doing your actual job every day. This exam is just like, the SAT or the ACT. It doesn't tell you, it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. It's just there, as a barrier that they put in front of you kind of, I guess, weed people out. And it's unfortunate because the exam to me is a little tricky, and it doesn't really have to be that way, but it's definitely possible to pass it on the first try. And if you don't pass it on the first try, there's nothing wrong with you if you don't pass it on the first try. I've tutored people who failed the exam like 7 or 8 times before they finally passed it. So it is a difficult exam. It's not about how smart you are, because you could be a straight A student your whole life. You could go through grad school and make all A's and have a 4.0 GPA and all of that and still go and fail the exam, because it's not about, it's not fully about the content. It's not one of those exams where you can read and study and then go and regurgitate what you studied and learned. It's about strategy. And if you don't know how to take the exam, that's the major thing. And so a lot of people, I've had at least this year, like 5 people that I've tutored tell me, that they had all A's in grad school and they knew for sure they were going to go and pass the exam because of that. But that honestly doesn't matter. And that's the thing that people have to understand. And also, you can't look at the exam as you would in real life. Like, you have to think it's the perfect by the book social worker when you take this exam. And if you don't, then that's something that can also kind of mess you up, because a lot of people that I've tutored, again, have been in the field for years and years, and they answer the questions as they would in real life. And that's not how they want you to answer them on this exam. And so that's what I kind of help you do too, is to get your mind, to twist your thinking, to get your mindset away from how you would answer in real life and turn it to how the test writer wants you to think. So there's strategies and tips and all this other stuff. And it really just takes a lot of practice. Like, of course, you need to study the content, because some of us have been out of school for 5-6 years, and then you go and take the exam and the content has changed and that kind of thing. So yes, it's great for you to go and review the content, but after you've studied your content and you've refreshed your memory on all of the theories and theorists and modalities and all this kind of stuff, you have to learn how to take the exam. And that's where I come in. And that's why when I do tutoring, I don't do any content review, because that's what the YouTube channel is for. That's all the free videos on the YouTube channel, where you can go and learn and refresh your memory on the content. That's free on my channel, because you can get that out of any textbook. You can get it out of any video on any other channel on YouTube. And so it doesn't make sense for you to spend your money on tutoring to review content that you can get for free in a book. And so all of the videos on content review are on the Day-to-Day Social Work YouTube channel for free. But then if you want to get tutoring is focused strictly on answering the questions, breaking everything down, pulling out that relevant information, helping you understand what the test writer is asking you for. Because a lot of times we look at these questions and we just immediately start answering, but we don't really understand what they're asking us for, because sometimes we read a little too quickly. We might skip over a word. We might ignore that very last sentence that tells us exactly what they're asking for, and we just jump right into what would the social worker do first, when they actually asked you what should the social worker do first to advocate for the client. And so your answer should be something that's advocating and not necessarily just what you would do first. So it's really helping you pay attention to detail, focusing on what the test writer is asking you, learning how to take the exam, learning new and different strategies, and that kind of thing. And another thing that you'll also notice on the exam is that when you practice, a lot of the practice questions that you come across when studying for the exam, some of them are a little more lengthy than the actual questions on the exam. And so, like, when I was studying for my exam back in 2015, my practice questions were so lengthy, and then I got on the exam and they were like 2 and 3 sentences, and then they would ask you for the answer. And I was like, wait a minute, none of the stuff that I studied was on the exam. And I was expecting all these lengthy scenarios, and it just wasn't like that. So it was a little easier the actual exam was easier than the practice questions. So another thing I want to point out is that the exams that people have been taking since over a year ago, probably like a year and a half ago, have been really heavily focused on um, community social work and school social work. So when you are reviewing your content, make sure that you review school social work and community social work. And I can't stress that enough, because when I tutor people and they come back after their exam to let me know that they passed or maybe they didn't pass, they tell me that it's still community social work, policy. It's more macro based than it was when I took it. When I took it, it was micro based. And I don't know what's on the exam. I don't see it because, of course, I can't see it. And you can't really tell anybody the exact questions, but you can kind of give people an idea. And so the that's been what it's been for the last year and a half. That's been the feedback that I've gotten. It's a lot of community social work and a lot of school social work. So make sure that you study for that. I have a video on the channel that gives you a resource to study for community social work. It's hard to teach communities. It's hard to tutor for community social work questions because it's content, and it's really just stuff that you have to study on your own. So be aware, please, please, please study some macro social work when you are studying and preparing for this exam. If and when the exam changes and it becomes more micro based again, I will let you all know, as people let me know, that it's going back to being more micro based. Also, just a quick thing, my email for the last week has been kind of jacked up. So if you sent me an email and I didn't respond to it, I'm very good about responding to emails within like a few hours, 24 hours at the most, unless it's the weekend, then I might take a couple days. But my email had been like kind of messed up due to somebody posting it in some group, and I got like a lot of spam and stuff like that. So if you sent me an email over the last week, I've gotten that straightened out. So but it took me a while to find some stuff due to all of the spam that I was getting. So anyway, that's that. Let's see, any other questions? And Arnetta, why, again, why are you afraid to take the exam? I get it. It's very nerve-wracking. A lot of people I've come across a lot of people over the last 4 years who get so anxious that they kind of psych themselves out, and that's how they end up failing the exam. So in my experience, anxiety is probably the number one reason why people fail the exam. It's not that they didn't know the content. It's not that they didn't know. And again, nobody knows it all. So there will be things on the exam that you may have never even learned in grad school and that kind of thing. So don't worry about that, because none of us know it all and none of us will learn it all. But, for some people, it wasn't the content. It wasn't the strategy. They knew the strategy. They knew the content. It was just that they were so anxious. And so you have to get into this mode of realism and understand that this is just an exam. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, it's time consuming. Yes, we need to pass it, but it's just an exam. We always claim that you will pass the exam. Like, I'm always on a positivity note and motivational and encouraging and that kind of thing. So yes, we always like to claim that we will pass the exam, but we also have to be realistic, because some people don't pass it on their first try and they don't pass it on their second or third try. And, so we have to just make sure that anxiety is not the reason why we're not passing the exam, because it's just an exam. You go in, you know that you studied, you've done all that you can, you've prepared very well, you've done everything that you were supposed to do, and then maybe you don't pass the exam. Well, that's okay, because you will have another chance, and you will see, hopefully you will kind of see, where your errors were. Especially if it was your first time taking it and you didn't pass it. At least now, going in the second time, you know what to expect, you know what kind of questions to expect. But it's just an exam, so you have to find a way to relax and it is nerve-wracking. Like, I remember my nerves like yesterday. I kind of panicked a little bit, but then once I got there and I saw, how serious they were taking it by scanning people's palms and making you roll up your sleeve and making sure you didn't write anything on your arms and videotaping everything and taking your picture and all this stuff, I kind of was like, okay, it kind of calmed me down, because I was like, are y'all really serious, doing all of this extra stuff? But I guess people cheat. So Arnetta says, I guess that's the scary part. I don't want to study the wrong thing. I graduated August 2018 MSW from the University of Alabama, and a lot of my classmates have failed. So yeah, so you can't let what happens to your classmates affect you. And it's hard not to, of course, because that's your cohort. And, you feel like everybody learned the same thing and everybody is kind of preparing the same way. But everybody is different. Like, when you get on that exam, it's just you and that computer and your cohort, your colleagues. Nobody else is there. It's just you and the computer. So, I mean, I had friends who did not pass their exam on the first try. And so I thought the same thing. I was like, dang, well, my friend is so smart, if she didn't try either, but I did. And so it's just everybody learns differently. Everybody tests differently. And so it's not really about, we kind of have to, and I guess we've been conditioned to think that way too. Like, okay, well, if all of these things line up for me and this person, then our outcome will probably be the same. And that's just not true in all situations, of course. So I would just say, don't tell anybody when you plan to take the exam. That's another thing that people make a mistake and do. They tell everybody, yeah, I'm going to go and take my exam on Saturday morning at 8:00. And then they know that it's a 4-hour exam. So around 2:00, they might text you and ask you, how'd it go? Did you pass? And that puts a lot of extra pressure on you, because you know that if you fail, you have to then go back and tell people that you failed. And that's not fun. But if you pass, then great. Yeah, you get to tell people that you passed. But don't put that extra pressure on yourself to tell everybody when you take your exam, because that's going to cause anxiety, because now you're freaking out, because if you don't pass it, which we're claiming that you will, but if you don't pass it, then, it's like, dang, now I have to tell people I didn't pass it. So don't share your exam date with a lot of people. Only share it with, I wouldn't share it with anybody, honestly, because I mean, yeah, people want to know, but it's really not that deep. I mean, if you are married, you want to tell your spouse or you want to tell your parents or something like that, that's fine. But like, don't go out telling everybody that you're about to go and take your exam, because that's going to cause it. And then as far as studying the wrong thing, the KSAs are the knowledge, skills, and abilities that I always recommend that people have, because that is an outline of what to expect to be on the exam. So you definitely need a copy of the KSAs. And it's about 9 pages long. So I always tell people to go through the KSAs, and it's split into the 4 sections that are on the exam. So it's the human development and environment and whatever it's called, ethics, all of that is divided into 4 sections. So you need to go through the KSAs, and I always say mark out what you are already familiar with and what you already know and don't really need a refresher on, and just highlight the things that you need to review and the things that you need to study, because you maybe haven't heard of it or you may need a refresher on it. And so the first thing is always get the KSAs and see what you need to be learning. Then also, I always recommend that people have a comprehensive study guide, and the one by Dawn Apgar is the one that I normally recommend, because it's comprehensive. A lot of people use it. It's helped a lot of people pass. And then also, don't pull from a lot of different sources. So, don't get tutoring here and buy this package there and buy another package here. And then also, I'm going to do these questions over here. You're going to overwhelm yourself. You need to just make it very succinct. You don't need to pull from all these different places. It's going to overwhelm you. It's going to cause you to panic. It's going to cause you worry and stress. So the least amount of sources, the better. Now, as far as day-to-day social work goes, I have all these videos to help you review. I'll let you know about the KSAs. I'll let you know you need to have a comprehensive study guide. I would encourage you to take the exam on your own the first time without getting tutored or without paying for all these different systems, because you can pass the exam. But again, some people feel like even though I suggest that you take it on your own without tutoring the first time, some people just know themselves and they know that they need a tutor and they would just rather have a tutor. So, and I offer tutoring too. So it's just whatever you need to just have something rigid, a study plan. You don't need to study for months and months and months. Like, you don't need to study for a whole full year for this exam, because let's say you started studying in January and you plan to take the exam in December. Whatever you studied in January, you will have forgotten, So I always say 3 months at the max. And some people might need a little bit more, just because of different learning styles and that kind of thing. But, some people don't need that much. So, there are some people who can study for 2 weeks and go take the exam and pass it. And then there are some people that have to study for 3 or 4 months and take the exam and pass it. And then there are some people who don't study at all and they go and pass the exam. I had a lady, when I was doing my internship in grad school, she said that she set an alarm on her calendar to remind her to take her exam, and she forgot that she set it. And she said that her reminder went off one morning that it was the day that she was supposed to take her exam, and she just went and took it and passed it. I was a little skeptical about that. I'm like, so you didn't remember that you needed to be studied? You set a date for your exam, and you didn't even remember that you needed to be studying for it. And she's like, no, I didn't study at all. And I was like, girl, okay. I mean, really now. I don't know, but maybe she did. I don't know, but it's just not likely for most people to just, because a lot of people set their exam months in advance. They know that, hey, it's July right now. I'm going to take my exam in September. And so they go ahead and set a date. But, maybe she said it a week before. So I don't know what her situation was, but I wouldn't recommend not studying for the exam. So that's that. Let's see. What else? Okay, I don't see any other questions on here. Anybody have anything else? Arnetta, try not to get so worried about it. You are a recent graduate. And I say recent because it's only been a year. So that kind of puts you in that group of recent graduates. So the material is pretty much still the same. So it's still should be kind of fresh in your mind. As a recent graduate, it's good to take the exam as soon as you can after graduation, because you are still, and you aren't far removed from the content, because we know that social work content changes constantly as the world changes. So I would say don't put it off too long. I graduated from grad school in 2014, and then I didn't even take my exam until September of 2015. So it was about a year later, and it was only because I was moving from one city to another, and I found my little paper where it told me that I had until October to take the exam, or else I would have to re-register or something like that. And so I was like, okay, I got to go and take the exam, because I don't like to pay for things more than once. So I went and took it, and I passed. But the thing about when I was studying for my exam, I did a lot of practice exams, just practice questions. And that's why I put so much emphasis on that pre-recorded tutoring series that I have, because it's 180 questions. And the more you practice, the more you start to understand how the test is written, how the test writer wants you to answer questions, how the test writer wants you to think. And the exam is all about competence and showing the test writer that you are competent. And so, yes, it's important to study the content and the material, but it's also important to learn the strategy. And so, that's what my tutoring consists of. It's not you paying to review when you can do that on your own in your independent study time for free. It's good quality teaching strategy skills, helping you think critically, pulling out the relevant information, understanding why the test writer wants you to think this way. And so that's what the tutoring is about. That's what the pre-recorded tutoring series is about. Pre-recorded tutoring series and the live one-on-one tutoring is literally the exact same thing. Literally, like down to the T. All of the questions are the same. So if you did a live session, that same live session would be in that pre-recorded tutoring series. If you did the entire pre-recorded tutoring series, there's no more material left for you to do a live session. So it's in sync and everything is the same exact thing. For me personally, I always recommend that people do the pre-recorded tutoring series because it's self-paced. It's literally the same thing as the one-on-one tutoring. And I've already answered the questions that I know that people are going to ask based off just trends of questions that people have asked when I've done the live one-on-one tutoring. So I've already answered the questions that most people ask. And honestly, I tutor people from all over the country. Everybody pretty much has the same questions because we are pretty much all taught kind of the same curriculum, and we are all social workers. So we're all of similar mindset. So most people ask the same questions, which I already addressed in the videos. And what else? You know, like I said, it's self-paced, it's unlimited access for 45 days. It's better value because one live one-on-one tutoring session is $65 for an hour and 15 minutes. Yes, you get to ask questions, but again, everything is already addressed in the videos as well. So the package, the pre-recorded tutoring series, is all 180 questions and 45 days access, and it's $175. So would you rather have everything and pay $175 or do $65 for one session, $65 for another session? If you did all of the material in one-on-one tutoring sessions, you would honestly spend about $500. I don't want you to spend $500, even though it's coming to me. I'm not doing this for the money like that. Like, that's not my purpose. My purpose is to teach, to help you understand. And when you pass, that gives me success. You know, that means that I'm doing something right. That then causes you hopefully to make a testimonial video to put on the YouTube channel. And that helps other colleagues across the country decide whether or not they want to use day-to-day social work to help them pass the exam. So you winning is me winning. And if I can help you by giving you a lower rate or giving you a better option for tutoring, which is that pre-recorded tutoring series, which is going to pay for itself before you do all these one-on-one sessions. And I get it. Some people rather just have one-on-one sessions, but I'm always thinking, like, how can I save people money? And that's the reason why, one of the reasons why I made the pre-recorded tutoring series, was because it's the same quality, it's the same material, and everything is all the same. It's just a better value for your money. And then I also have the binge watch special where you can get access to the whole package for only $65, but it's only 7 days access. And that's why it's called the binge watch special, because you only have 7 days as opposed to 45 days, but it's at a lower rate. It's only $65, which is the same price as a one-on-one session. In the one-on-one sessions, we go over, on average, about 15 questions in one session. So those are the options. Let's see what else. Any other questions? So Sasha says, I'm using TDC and I failed by 11 points a few weeks ago. So I think I am psyching myself out because I'm seeing people failing multiple times. I'm not testing again until October. I'm not saying, let's see. Let's see if this is going to let me scroll down. It's not letting me scroll. I hate this thing because it never lets me scroll down. I'm not saying that it's bad. I can't see the rest of your comment because it's not letting me scroll down, Sasha. But yeah, so I mean, this is the thing. Nobody me included, should be telling you, and I'm not saying that they did, but I'm saying nobody should be telling anybody that's tutoring you or offering you anything should be telling you that using their system or tutoring with them is going to cause you to pass the exam. Nobody should be making you that promise, because when you get on that exam, it's just you and the computer and your knowledge and your skills and your training that you have developed over the time before you took your exam. It says, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's a lot of information and I felt bored with all the reading. So yeah, and that's the thing. You know, I haven't used their system. I don't plan to use it at any point. Because, and I have an exam coming up in another year because I have to take the independent license exam. So right now I'm just licensed on the master's level, but I'll have to take the LISWCP in the state of South Carolina. I don't see myself paying for a system or a package that consists of material that I can find for free in a book without paying for it. Me personally, I would pay for tutoring if I knew that somebody was going to teach me a strategy that I can't learn in a book. But if it's a lot of reading and stuff, especially if that reading is stuff that I can find on my own, I don't see the point in paying for something like that. Because that's something that you can get for free in your own independent study time. Now, I know that they also, most people have some kind of teaching that they do when they tutor, which, I mean, that's what tutoring is, I guess. But yeah, so I mean, I'm just not, I know that has been helpful for some people, and for other people it hasn't been helpful. And everything is different. And I'm the first person to say that not everybody that has tutored with me passed their exam. That's never been my promise. My promise is that I will go above and beyond to help you learn how to take the exam and to help you learn the strategies and understand how to take the exam. And I've been very successful at doing that and helping people pass the exam. But when it comes to all of the extra stuff, I just don't see a point in it when you can get all of that stuff for free. You might have to do a little work to find that stuff. You know, you might have to go and find an old textbook or Google some things and find some things out, or look at some old notes or whatever. But you can definitely, I get straight to it, is basically what I'm saying. In my tutoring, I'm getting straight to what we came to do, which is learn the strategy. It's breaking down these questions, understanding how the test writer wants you to think, and all of that. So that's what I do. Like I said, there are other people and packages and stuff out there. I've never looked at any of it. And that's because I do my own thing and my own business. But I'm sure that other people are helpful too. And so I don't knock it. It's just that, you know, my strategy is a little different. And that's because I feel like if you're going to pay for anything, it should be to someone's knowledge to help you understand how to take the exam, as opposed to just paying for content that you can get on your own for free. But yeah, I would get bored with a lot of reading too. But of course, you know, when we are reviewing and studying for this exam, we have to do some reading. And that's why I did the videos on the YouTube channel, because some people will get bored reading. They would rather hear things. They are audio visual people, so they might need to hear it and see it. Or they might just be auditory learners and they need to just hear it. And so a good thing about the YouTube videos is that you can watch or listen to them, you know, on your commute to work or while you're working out or whatever. So that repetitive learning the stuff and hearing it over and over again is good. Another thing I also suggest that people do is to read the Code of Ethics at least one time the entire way through. I know people who have been social workers for years and they never read the Code of Ethics. And why haven't they read the Code of Ethics? Is because we just know instinctually, we know how to be ethical. And that's great, because most of us do know how to be ethical. We know not to share people's information. We know that if we're talking about a client to another colleague, we only need to share the information that is needed for that person to do their job. We know that we need to get informed consent before treating the client and all this other stuff. So we know the basics, but the code of ethics is very specific and it's really an easy read. So I always suggest that people read it at least one time through, at least 3 days prior to their exam, because the code of ethics is the backdrop of the exam. It's an easy read, but it's very specific stuff in there. And you don't want to get on the exam and have a question from the code of ethics that you didn't read and that you ended up missing on the exam because you didn't read, and that causes you to fail the exam. So always make sure, yes, we know how to be ethical, but we need to read the code of ethics at least once all the way through. And because like it's very specific stuff in there that if you don't read it, then you might end up missing some stuff on the exam. So that's one of the biggest things, is making sure that you read the code of ethics. Okay, what else? But Sasha, when you say that you failed by 11 points, when I do my consultations and I ask people how many points they failed by, if you failed by 10 points or less, and 11 is very close to 10, of course, that kind of tells me that you have a pretty good handle on the exam, but the issue could be strategy, or it could be content. And so that's why it's important to get tutored and understand what the issue might be, because if the issue is strategy, then of course that's what I'm here to help you with. If the issue is content, where you were on the exam and it was just stuff that you didn't know, you just simply didn't know, then that tells us that you need to focus a lot more on the content, along with the strategy. So I just want to make it clear, I'm not saying not to study content, but I'm just saying that it's very important to know the strategy. So missing by 11 points, like I said, kind of tells me that you have a pretty good handle on the exam, but that the issue could be the strategy or the content. Now, I've met people who have missed by like 15 or more points. Those are the people who I don't think need to do the pre-recorded tutoring series. Those are the people who need the one-on-one tutoring, because we really need to see what the issue is there. But if you miss by like 10, 11 points or less, that's really the reason why I made the pre-recorded tutoring series, because that tells me you have a pretty good handle on the exam. And that tells me that you don't need your handheld, so to speak. Not that having your handheld is a bad thing, but it kind of tells me that you comprehend the questions. Maybe there were some things that you just didn't know the answer to, or maybe you just don't know the strategy, or, it tells me that you have a pretty good handle. And so you doing the pre-recorded tutoring series would be helpful for you, because you probably don't have a lot of questions other than the ones I've already addressed in the videos. But like I said, if you miss by 20 points, then I wouldn't even recommend I wouldn't recommend the pre-recorded. I definitely would recommend the one-on-one, because there's a big gap there. There's something missing. There's something that you're just not getting. And that would be something that someone would need a live one-on-one session for. Okay, what else? Anything else? It's almost been an hour. I love doing Sunday social. I just need to, have stuff prepared, which I'm going to work on for the next time, hopefully. I've been out all weekend doing stuff. So I've been going to Charlotte a lot lately. I went to Columbia yesterday. I was in Gaffney earlier today, just hanging out, meeting people and doing stuff. So I'm also I need to plan another trip. I wish we could have done the meetup like we initially planned, but people didn't follow through with that. So but yeah, I'm hoping that we can do a meetup at some point. I went to New York earlier this year. I had a great time in New York. That's one of the only places that I've been that I want to go back. Like, I've been doing a lot of traveling over the last couple years, and in the States, and I can honestly say that out of all the big cities that I've been to, New York is really the only one that I really want to go back to. So, I mean, I went to Vegas last year. I've been to Chicago. I've been to Miami. I've been to LA. I've been to Indianapolis. I've been to Boston. I've been to like a lot of big cities and stuff. Hadn't really had a desire to go back to any of them, but New York is definitely one that I want to go back to. Hopefully in the fall, because I want to see it in the when it's cooler weather. Okay, anything else before we end? Okay, so I always have to end on a positive note because I'm always such a ray of sunshine and so positive. So again, as always, I thank you for the work that you do as social workers or as aspiring social workers, because I know we have some people who are still in school, some people who have not taken their exam, and depending on what state you're in, you can't call yourself a social worker unless you're licensed. Again, depending on what state you're in, it's not the same everywhere, but in the state of South Carolina, legally, you're not supposed to call yourself a social worker until you have a license. But, you know, people do still anyway. But as social workers or people who work in this field, thank you for the work that you do. I know I've worked in almost every population, domestic violence, sexual abuse, victims of crime, medical social work, homelessness, all kinds of stuff, mental illness, all of that. So I know any job that you hold as a social worker, you are impacting someone's life. And if nobody has told you thank you for the work that you do, I don't even have to know you personally. I know that you are making a difference in someone's life. Thank you for the work that you do. Continue to try to make it about the client and leave ourselves to the side. I always used to leave the house. I work from home mostly now, but when I was working on site, I used to always, before I left the house, ask God and whoever you believe in or whatever you believe in, whether it's God or somebody else, I used to always say, you know, please help me to leave myself at home and, you know, utilize, like, let me serve you by serving others. And I always had to remember that it's not about me, that it's about the client, it's about the people that we work with. And so putting all my biases aside, all my judgments aside, because we all have them, taking accountability if I mess up, because we all do, you know, and just being accountable and not putting things off on other people if I happen to mess up. So, you know, we are human, you know, but sometimes that's not an excuse for some of the some of the things that I've seen some of our colleagues say and do to some people. But, you know, just thank you for the work that you do. It's important. And hopefully everything comes full circle at some point in your career where the people that you've worked with, or even if it's just one person, will come back around and let you know how much of an impact that you've made on their family or on them personally. And so hopefully you have a great week this week. Hopefully if you have traumas in your past that you haven't dealt with, hopefully you have the resources and the means to be able to get into therapy yourself. I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy all year this year, really. It's been helpful for me. And I definitely recommend going if you can. Some people have benefits that they don't use. They have insurance, they have EAP at their jobs and stuff. They don't use it. And, you know, if it's available to you, especially if you want to become a therapist at some point in your social work career, I think it's very helpful to go to therapy and learn how the process works, and also become a client so you can feel how the client feels. Be vulnerable, be open, and deal with your stuff, because we all have stuff to deal with. Deal with your stuff and allow someone to help you, because they always say that doctors are the worst patients. It's kind of the same thing, I think, for social workers. Like sometimes we don't like to get help. I love being the client. Like I like to be able to go and sit down on the couch and talk about my problems for once. So, you know, if you've ever thought about going to therapy, let's try to normalize it for people. Like go and say, yeah, I'm a therapist or I'm a social worker and I go to therapy and it's helped me. Sometimes it might not help you. You kind of have to find the right person to mesh with. So it might take more than one time before you find a good match. But, you know, just continue to be great. To me, I think social work is definitely a calling, and every person that's a social worker, for the most part, have been called to do this work, and not anybody can do it. And we know that not everybody can be a social worker, and that's why we're so protective of our profession. Like, don't let somebody say something about social worker, because everybody's everybody's gonna have something to say. If you're a social worker and people try to diss our career, you know how we get about that. And you know how we feel when we see another social worker and you just automatically know this person gets it. No matter what it is, hopefully they, in some kind of way, they get it. So you know, just continue to be great. If you make mistakes, it's okay. As long as you own up to it and you learn from it. You know, we're all developing and growing as social workers in this career. So, you know, encourage your coworkers, encourage your colleagues, and just continue to do great work like you've always done. So until next time, I will see y'all later. Andre, I see your comment. Thank you for your videos and also having a Sunday moment. Awesome. You're welcome. I love this. Like, I don't know what else I would do if I was not a social worker. Honestly, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could learn some other skill, but I don't want to. So anyway, y'all have a Niley. Hello, I'm happy to be able to catch you live. Thank you for coming. I'm just now getting off, but I'm going to post this video on the YouTube channel, so you can rewatch it if you want to. We really just talked about the services that Day-to-Day Social Work offers and went over some things about the exam. So anybody who is joining late, that's what we talked about. But y'all go and be great. Have a great week. And hopefully, next weekend I'm going to Atlanta, because my brother and sister want to celebrate their birthday in Atlanta. So I don't know if I'll do Sunday Social next Sunday, but hopefully I will. But if not, then I'll try to go live at some point during the week. But yeah, if you're studying for the exam, continue to study, continue to be great, continue to know that you can pass the exam. You will pass the exam at some point. And just know that we are professionals. Don't ever let anybody make you feel like you're less than because you're a social worker. We are educated, credentialed, licensed people, and people working on license. So don't let anyone tell you you're just a social worker. Don't let anyone tell you that your career doesn't matter. Don't let anyone just try to put off the work on you that they don't want to do, because we've all been there, right? Where people feel like, oh, we'll just tell the social worker to do it. Don't let people do that to you. I've worked with doctors and I tell doctors no. Like, if they want me to do something that I don't feel like is professional, I tell them no. And because they are licensed professionals and so am I. I've been to college and all this other stuff like for years too. And I had to study for this exam and pass it too. And I had to do all this stuff too. So, you know, in society, doctors are seen as being up here, and that's great because they should be, because they deal with people's lives, but we do too. We deal with people's mental health. And if that's not in check, then they might, you know, make some decisions that they can't come back from. We'll just say that. So we have people's lives in our hands too. And so, you know, don't let anyone try to make you feel like you're less than. I hate to be in a group of colleagues and they start complaining about, oh, we're just the social workers and nobody listens to us. I'm not in that group. Like, if that's how y'all feel, then hey, that's how y'all feel. But I've left the job because of that. I don't like to be in that kind of position where I feel like nobody's listening to me and I'm just at the bottom of the barrel. I'm never at the bottom of the barrel, and neither are you. So don't let people treat you like that. Like, you are a very educated, credentialed professional, and you should be treated as such. And if people don't, then, you know, I'm going to be nice and say nice stuff. But anyway, y'all have a good week, and I'll see y'all next time. Good night.